Hello everyone and welcome back to another YouTube video. I am Hype the Commentator and thank you all for joining me today. Today is a different kind of video. There is no commentary, but today's video is more so a commentary analysis, a predictions video, whatever you want to make of it, that's what it is. So today we are going to be making our predictions, doing a commentary analysis over tonight's Money in the Bank. So without further ado, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right in to it. All right, here we go. So our first match that we have, it is Sami Zayn versus Braun Breaker, the unpredictable badass, for the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship. All right, so this one's an interesting bout between these two. It's a first-time contest we've ever seen between these two. Braun Breaker, after going on a rampage on Monday Night Raw, after being left out of the King of the Ring tournament, then being left out of being able to be a part of the Money in the Bank ladder match, now finding himself contending against Sami Zayn for his Intercontinental Championship. This is going to be an interesting bout. He finally has a shot at some gold, at getting his first big accolade on the main roster. So that's a big deal for Braun Breaker. And for Sami Zayn, he is fresh out of an emotionally draining feud with Chad Gable. So you got to wonder, is Sami Zayn emotionally and physically ready for a guy like Braun Breaker? That's the big question. And it could go either way, as much as it's Sami Zayn's toughest opponent to date in Braun Breaker, since Sami Zayn has become the Intercontinental Champion. It's a big deal for Braun Breaker to be challenging for the Intercontinental Championship. Braun Breaker, much like Sami Zayn, a former NXT champion. But that's Braun Breaker's biggest accolade to date in WWE. Now, that was NXT being on the main roster for as long as it's been, since May. This will be interesting to see how this all plays out. Because Braun Breaker, will he break under this pressure? I mean, we haven't seen it so far. It seems like it's going to be Braun Breaker's night. But with things like Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser looming around in the background, how does that go into effect of this match? Does it end in an ODQ? Does Sami Zayn retain? I mean, it's a tough call. But I think Braun Breaker is going to leave as the new Intercontinental Champion. I think that's just what has to happen. Braun Breaker is going to be the better man, and he is going to leave Money in the Bank as the new Intercontinental Champion. All right, now we're heading to the women's side of things. This is the first of the two Money in the Bank ladder matches. This is the women's 2024 Money in the Bank ladder match. 3 superstars representing Friday Night SmackDown, 3 superstars representing Monday Night Raw. Io Sky is about to compete in her second Money in the Bank ladder match after winning it the last time and successfully cashing it in last year. She looks to do it again. That's a big deal. I mean, she held the title for 245 days. She was WWE Women's Champion for 245 days before ultimately losing it to the current WWE Women's Champion, Bayley, at WrestleMania 40. But Sky took down Kiana James and Zelina Vega to earn her second chance and hope to once again have the opportunity to slingshot her right back into the main event and become Miss Money in the Bank and then eventually become Women's Champion once again. Well, we'll take a look at that in just a few moments. But Chelsea Green is set to enter her first Money in the Bank after prevailing against Bianca Belair and Michin with what seemed a favorite in Bianca Belair to enter the Money in the Bank ladder match. Bianca Belair has been on top for quite some time, and it seemed that it was going to be Bianca Belair who was going to leave with a victory after connecting with a KOD on Michin. But Chelsea Green said, no, this is my time. I'm heading back to my home country, and I'm going to do it and enter Money in the Bank, and I'm going to leave Money in the Bank as Miss Money in the Bank. Well, we'll find out if that's going to happen. But also joining the fray is a woman who has been hot-shotted on a rocket ship. Lyra Valkyria, I'm talking about. She has been making waves on the Red brand Monday Night Raw since being drafted back in May. It's going to be very interesting. She competed against Nia Jax in the Queen of the Ring tournament finals. A big deal match that she lost, but now with the Money in the Bank right after, it's seemingly this is her big opportunity to have that comeback that she desperately needs to, resume that momentum, to get back up the hill. That's exactly what she needs. She's qualified for Money in the Bank. This is a big opportunity for Lyra Valkyria. Will she be able to do it? That's the big question. And she defeated Shayna Baszler and Kairi Sane to qualify. Now, it's Tiffy time, because Tiffany Stratton, who conquered Jade Cargill and Candice LeRae, while Naomi defeated Blair Davenport and Indy Hartwell to qualify. This will be interesting. Are we going to feel the glow, or will it be Tiffy time? They qualified on the same night on Friday Night SmackDown, and it could very well be one of them that leaves Money in the Bank as Miss Money in the Bank. But also that final spot was snagged by Zoe Stark, who overcame Ivy Nile and Dakota Kai to qualify. Now, this is going to be interesting. You have these 6 women. They are so unique, so talented. Io Sky, a former WWE Women's Champion. Naomi, a multi-time former Women's Champion. Those are the only 2 former WWE Women's Champions in the match. The other 4 have never held a singles Women's Championship in the WWE. Chelsea Green, former WWE Women's Tag Team Champion. Well, Tiffany Stratton and Lyra Valkyria, both former NXT Women's Champions, but haven't had the opportunity to hold a Women's Championship on the main roster. And it could very well be their time if they can walk away as Miss Money in the Bank. But you got to think about who has that momentum. Who has the fire behind them? Is it going to be Io Sky's time? Does the lightning strike twice for Io Sky? Does it? Is it finally time for Lyra Valkyria to actually overcome, making it to the finals of the Queen of the Ring tournament, but falling short? This time, she needs to succeed. For Chelsea Green, she has had a battle trying to fight and scratch and claw her way up to the top. For Zoe Stark, being somebody who was under such a big learning tree and, overcoming all that with Trish Stratus, and then, they having their own, their outbursts against each other, and just the way everything happened with those 2. Zoe Stark has learned a lot from Trish Stratus. They may not be on the best terms now. We haven't seen Trish Stratus in quite some time. But is it Zoe Stark's time? Is it Zoe Stark's time? You take a look at all 6 of these women. This is a big opportunity for one of them. And, I'm starting to think, it could be Chelsea Green. It could be Chelsea Green's time. She's scratched and clawed her way back after being released by WWE a few years ago. Back to WWE, becoming a WWE Women's Tag Team Champion. And now this could be her opportunity to be up at the top, to be Miss Money in the Bank, and ultimately, eventually become WWE Women's Champion or the Women's World Heavyweight Champion. But you got to look at the hottest rising star in the women's division. That's Tiffany Stratton. She has got all the momentum behind her, and it doesn't seem like there's anything that's going to stop her. That's the big thing. Much like Lyra Valkyria, she had, a little bit of, a step down, a step back after losing that finals in the Queen of the Ring tournament. But here's what I will say. I think it's Tiffy time. Tiffany Stratton will become Miss Money in the Bank. It's now time to take a look at the men's side of things. We just took a look at the women's Money in the Bank ladder match. Now let's take a look at the men's Money in the Bank ladder match. But first, let's take a look at who qualified and who they had to beat to qualify. Jey Uso entering his first ever Money in the Bank ladder match. It is so interesting what a year can do. It was only a year ago we saw the Usos take on Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa in tag team action in London at Money in the Bank last year. I mean, it's crazy to think that Jey Uso pinned Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns' right-hand man, main event Jey Uso, was the first one to pin Roman Reigns in nearly 4 years. And now Jey Uso looks to enter the Money in the Bank ladder match and become Mr. Money in the Bank. Yeet. And Jey Uso defeating Finn Balor and Rey Mysterio in a triple threat match to qualify. Andrade took care of Kevin Owens and Grayson Waller to get his shot at the Money in the Bank and qualifying for the Money in the Bank ladder match. Chad Gable, despite being brutalized in a gruesome conclusion on the June 17th edition of Raw, he got away with the victory, defeating two behemoths in the form of Big Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman to qualify for the first time in his career. But that was with a little bit of help from the Judgment Day, who finally, seemingly, were able to take care of their Braun Strowman problem and costing Braun Strowman his shot at becoming Mr. Money in the Bank. And now we go to Carmelo Hayes with a big win, defeating Randy Orton and Tama Tonga. But how he won is crazy, with a big roll-up on Randy Orton. Out of all people to pin in that match, Randy Orton, a 14-time world champion, Royal Rumble winner. He's done pretty much everything except win King of the Ring, and that's what he tried to do. But my point is, Randy Orton has done so much in his career, and for Carmelo Hayes to pin a guy like Randy Orton has got to add a huge boost of confidence, and that might be exactly what Carmelo Hayes needs to leave Money in the Bank as Mellow in the Bank, if you will. And Andrade is the only superstar to have experienced a Money in the Bank ladder match after competing in the 2019 edition. And LA Knight joined the match by defeating United States champion Logan Paul and Santos Escobar with an assist from New York Knicks star player Jalen Brunson. And Drew McIntyre grabbing the final spot this past Monday on Raw with a huge victory and a heavy-hitting brawl between himself, the Celtic Warrior Sheamus, and the Mad Dragon, Ilya Dragunov. What a match it was between those three heavy hitters. But it was Drew McIntyre who would grab that final spot. Now that we've taken a look at, everybody who's qualified, who they beat to qualify, it's going to be interesting because you got to wonder how this is going to go. LA Knight has his thing with Logan Paul. The Wyatt Six are after Chad Gable. Punk is after Drew McIntyre. So you got to wonder where this is going to go. Who's going to win? Who will be able to prevail? Because LA Knight's got to have that thought in his mind. He's after Logan Paul's United States Championship. LA Knight's the one who started the target. He put the target on Logan Paul. And those two have been going at it for the past few weeks now. McIntyre and Punk going at it for months. But it seems like McIntyre did enough the other week on SmackDown to take out CM Punk when he brutalized CM Punk, leaving him in a bloody mess in his hometown of Chicago at the Allstate Arena. And what a bloody mess that was. But is Punk going to be around? Is CM Punk going to be in Toronto? Well, for Chad Gable, we already saw the gruesome attack that the Wyatt Six did to him. And he came back and still was able to qualify for the Money in the Bank. I mean, if he can handle that, it may seem that Chad Gable is bulletproof. He may actually have a big chance of winning this Money in the Bank ladder match. He's been looking for that big win. He's been trying to go after the Intercontinental Championship for quite some time, but couldn't get the job done. And then he changed to his evil ways and ended up having the Alpha Academy turn against him and push them away. I mean, when you act the way you do and treat your people the way you do, the way Chad Gable did to the Alpha Academy, somebody that Otis looked up to, they're former tag team champions together. They were together for 4 years as a team. And to push Otis away and do what he did to him mentally and do what he did to Akira Tozawa and Maxine, it's disgraceful. And now finding himself with the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile, seemingly, well, we'll see how that plays out. It may seemingly lead to something with the Wyatt Six. You never know. You just don't know. But main event Jey Uso, is it his time? Every time Jey Uso has had a big match for a singles championship or something that could put him in contention in this situation for a singles championship, his brother, his twin brother, Jimmy Uso, has cost him the match. Going back to SummerSlam of last year when it was tribal combat between Jey Uso and Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Championship. We thought it was going to be Jey Uso after that splash. It could have been the 1, 2, and 3, but a man in a hoodie would pull Jey Uso out just before the 3 count, revealing himself to be none other than Jimmy Uso, which was a shock to all of us that these twins bonded, who have bonded over after winning tag team title after tag team titles, traveled over the world, one of the greatest tag teams of all time. And Jimmy Uso threw it all away to prevent Jey Uso from becoming champion and becoming the new head of the table. But let's take a look at Andrade. Andrade's a bit of an oddball here. You know, Andrade returning back at the Royal Rumble. We kind of saw him with the LWO, Legado del Fantasma a little bit. You know, doing his thing there. He's kind of got an interesting bit of momentum here. This could be a big opportunity for Andrade to get a world title, to put himself right in line for a world championship. And you've got a guy like Carmelo Hayes, like I said, off a victory, qualifying for this match by pinning Randy Orton. That's enough confidence, to push you to the moon. And I think it might just be enough to become Mellow in the Bank. It's a tough call here. I mean, let's break it down. I mean, LA Knight and Logan Paul, we may see them go at it in some way, shape, or form. Chad Gable might get hunted by Wyatt Six in this match. Drew McIntyre, we may see CM Punk. He called out AJ Lee. Who knows? Just saying, we may see an AJ Lee return. You never know what's going to happen. But what might be a bit of an oddball is Punk playing the long game, is letting Drew McIntyre win the Money in the Bank, knowingly, being healed up enough just to allow Drew McIntyre to win the Money in the Bank contract. But once it's time for Drew McIntyre to cash it in, that's when CM Punk costs Drew McIntyre the world title once again. That's how petty Punk can be, is playing the long game. Is letting Drew McIntyre feel that sense of victory of becoming Mr. Money in the Bank after having it cashed in on him by Damian Priest back at WrestleMania when Drew McIntyre finally fulfilled his destiny and winning the World Championship in front of a crowd. But, Drew McIntyre let his emotions get the best of him and tried and played mind games with Punk, who was on commentary. I mean, if Drew had just gone and celebrated with his family and not messed with Punk, he'd probably still be the world champion. Damian Priest wouldn't have had the opportunity that he had to cash in. But Damian Priest is the world champion for that reason. And we'll get to that in a bit. It's a tough call here. I'm just trying to think. You just got to wonder. I mean, is it Drew McIntyre's night? Is it Andrade's night? Is it main event Jey Uso's night? Is it Chad Gable's night? Is it LA Knight's night? Is it Carmelo Hayes' night? You gotta wonder. I think I'm gonna have to go with main event Jey Uso. I think it's time. This time, main event Jey Uso is gonna yeet his way to becoming the Mr. Money in the Bank of 2024. Okay, now we get into a feud that has been going on for quite some time. I'm talking about Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, and the Bloodline. This new version of the Bloodline, though, this isn't Roman Reigns' Bloodline. Cody Rhodes had defeated Roman Reigns and became the new undisputed WWE champion back at WrestleMania 40 in one heck of a match filled with ups and downs and quite a few surprises. But this is a blood feud. This is between Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, Kevin Owens, and this vicious side of the Bloodline. Paul Heyman just got taken out by these 4 vicious animals, as he put it. And then you had the Tongans, Tama, Tonga, and Tongaloa joining Solo Sikoa. But then you add Jacob Fatu. A couple of these guys can't even travel outside the country. That's how dangerous they are. These were statements made by Paul Heyman about how dangerous they are. Saying Roman Reigns thought about these guys, but he had to think about the safety because of this and them not being able to travel outside of the country. But Solo Sikoa tried to force Heyman to say that Solo Sikoa is his tribal chief, and Paul Heyman couldn't do it. And Paul Heyman paid for it. But you gotta wonder, the Bloodline is running so strong. Which 3 members of the Bloodline are going to be representing the Bloodline? It seems like we're going to see Jacob Fatu in his first official WWE match, teaming up with Solo Sikoa, the leader of the Bloodline, the new head of the table, the new tribal chief, and the right-hand man of Solo Sikoa, the MFT Tama Tonga. So it's going to be Jacob Fatu, Solo Sikoa, and Tama Tonga, from what it appears to be, taking on Cody Rhodes, Randy Orton, and Kevin Owens. With how vicious the Bloodline is. And we don't know what condition Kevin Owens is in. We don't know what condition Randy Orton's in. We also don't know what condition Cody Rhodes is in from Jacob Fatu's attack, breaking his ribs. Are Cody Rhodes' ribs going to be healed by then? I've got to say, this new Bloodline has been more and more vicious. The Bloodline's going to leave with a victory. And it's going to lead to the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes and Solo Sikoa, in the main event of SummerSlam for the undisputed WWE Championship. The Bloodline will leave Money in the Bank in this 6-man tag match with the victory. All right, now we get to the big World Heavyweight Championship match. It is El Campeón, Damian Priest, defending his World Heavyweight Championship against the newly returned Seth freaking Rollins. After being out of action since WrestleMania, out with a few knee injuries, what condition is Seth freaking Rollins truly in? Is Rollins truly at 100%? I mean, Rollins came back in record time for the knee problems he was dealing with. Is he truly 100%? He had surgery, and coming back in just a few months? I mean, you got to wonder if it's too good to be true for the visionary, the revolutionary Seth freaking Rollins. El Campeón has been on quite the run as the World Heavyweight Champion since cashing in on Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. It was Drew McIntyre who defeated Seth freaking Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania. And then Drew McIntyre would taunt CM Punk. And it cost him. Drew McIntyre could have left as the world champion. Could have left and celebrated with his family, finally winning the world title in front of a crowd. But no, Drew McIntyre didn't want that. He wanted to mock CM Punk. That not only did he steal CM Punk's WrestleMania moment, but he won the World Heavyweight Championship. And Punk let him know. That's not how things work around here. And Punk took out McIntyre. And then Damian Priest took advantage of the opportunity and cashed in. South of Heaven, 1, 2, 3, new World Heavyweight Champion. And now with some big victories, Damian Priest finds himself now challenging Seth freaking Rollins for the World Heavyweight Championship in Toronto at Money in the Bank. I mean, it's a big match. I mean, the stakes are even higher because if Rollins loses, he doesn't challenge Damian Priest as long as Damian Priest is world champion. If Priest loses, he has to leave the Judgment Day on top of losing his world title. I mean, a lot's at stake. Things were said about the Judgment Day by Priest, saying that they need him more than he does, more than he needs them. I mean, you got to wonder those words. What's going on in the mind of a Finn Balor, of JD McDonough, of Carlito, of Dominic Mysterio? You got to wonder. And Rhea Ripley at home, what is she thinking watching all of this? It'll be very interesting to see how this match plays out. It's really hard to predict a winner. I mean, with a high stake like that, like putting your position in the Judgment Day on the line, you almost got to think that Damian Priest has so much confidence in himself that he's going to leave with the victory. I mean, Damian Priest has had a great showing as champion, defeating Jey Uso. I mean, it's a tough call. It's a tough call. I mean, he defeated Drew McIntyre at Clash of the Castle. I mean, the ending was a bit controversial, but nonetheless, Damian Priest defeated Drew McIntyre. I mean, and whoever wins this match is world champion heading into SummerSlam, most likely, unless somebody cashes in on them. And will end up having to face the Ring General Gunther. Gunther securing his guaranteed world title match by winning the King of the Ring tournament. It's a tough call. It is a very tough call between these two. Between Seth freaking Rollins and Damian Priest. I mean, is Rollins going to defeat Damian Priest and only hold the title till SummerSlam? I mean, that's the one thing I'm looking at. And I'm thinking something's going to happen here. There's some little slip-ups in the Judgment Day. Is that going to cost Damian Priest mentally? Is there something that's going to happen with him? But you got to think that Damian Priest has something up his sleeve. And that's why I think Damian Priest is going to leave Money in the Bank as still the World Heavyweight Champion. All right, everybody. And those were my Money in the Bank predictions. Now that I've thought about it, wouldn't it be funny if there was like a seventh man added to the men's Money in the Bank ladder match? They put CM Punk in the ladder match just as Drew McIntyre is about to grab the briefcase. McIntyre is about to grab it, and here comes Punk costing McIntyre the briefcase, and Punk is Mr. Money in the Bank. I know that sounds crazy. It's very crazy, but you never know. Just a crazy thought, Maybe Drew McIntyre wins the Money in the Bank and tries to cash it the same night, and Punk or maybe AJ Lee costs him there. You never know. There are so many possibilities with Money in the Bank, with these ladder matches, with these title matches. It's going to be a very chaotic night in Toronto at Money in the Bank. You won't want to miss it. It'll be live on Peacock. I won't be doing commentary for it live. I'll be doing commentary for it the next day. That is Sunday, July 7th. So join me on Twitch and YouTube for that. Thank you all for tuning in to today's video. Don't forget, follow me on all my socials on Instagram at Hype the Commentator, Twitch at Hype the Commentator, TikTok at Hype the Commentator, subscribe here on YouTube at Hype the Commentator, and Hype Commentator on X. Thank you all for all the love and support, and I will see you all in the next one.